Hi everyone, it's Bailey. If my face does not look familiar to you, welcome to the Rise Up webinar family. We're so incredibly grateful and happy to have you in this community of ocean change makers just like yourselves. I'm the youth advisor for the Ocean Project, and if you are interested in getting involved with the Rising Blue Network and signing up for our brand new newsletter with even more ways to get involved in ocean action year-round, click the links in the comments below and you'll get signed up and join us in all the fun and action. I'm absolutely thrilled and so honored to introduce you all to my guests for this month's July's Rise Up webinars. The team, part of the team from the Bahamas Plastic Movement, they'll introduce themselves. I just saw, they'll introduce themselves. But before they do that, I want to tell you a little bit more about the organization and then we'll get it going. So after sailing across the Pacific Ocean in 2012 to study the Western Garbage Patch, Crystal Ambrose, the founder, was inspired to spark a plastic pollution revolution in her home, the Bahamas. Her passion for the issue led her to develop and launch Bahamas Plastic Movement, a nonprofit organization geared towards raising awareness and finding solutions to plastic pollution. Bahamas Plastic Movement believes that through research, education, citizen science, and policy change, we can create a healthy marine and terrestrial environment free of plastic pollution. And for those of you watching, I'm not sure you all know, but this month is known as Plastic Free July. And while every month we should strive to live a plastic-free lifestyle, or at least a plastic-conscious lifestyle, we have months like these to remind ourselves to renew our commitments to our shared ocean and our blue planet. And who better to renew that commitment with than our friends at Bahamas Plastic Movement? So let's get it going. First of all, tell me your name. I know you, but tell the audience your name and what sea creature you feel you are the most similar to. For example, my name is Bailey, and I feel I'm the most similar to the sea turtle because of just how chill and relaxed and fun it seems when it's in the ocean. And whoever wants to go next can go next.
My name is Michaela, and I think the sea animal that I'm most alike to is the dolphin because I am hyper and have a very funny laugh.
I love that. Now I want to hear. It's going to be my goal this whole recording to get you to laugh, so I can hear that just joyous dolphin-like laugh. I'm sure it's beautiful. Okay, who's next?
My name is Hannah, and I feel more free to a yellowtail fish because I feel more free in the ocean when I'm there.
I love that. I love that. A yellowtail fish. That's the most unique answer we've had. Believe it. We usually get a sea turtle and a dolphin, but a yellowtail fish. I'm here for it. And last but certainly not least is...
It's me.
It's Crystal.
Yes, Crystal Ambrose, also known as Crystal Ocean. I'm the founder and director of the Bahamas Plastic Movement. Super thrilled to be here today. And just like Bailey, the sea animal that resonates most with me is the sea turtle because of its life's journey. You know, from the time it's born, it ends up exactly where it needs to be. And it goes through birds and fish and sharks trying to eat it and pollution and everything to get back to the exact same beach where it was born to do what it was destined to do. And it thrives and it's wise, and that's me.
That's such a much better answer than mine.
I thought about that for years. I'm like, wow.
I'm like, it's chill. And Crystal's like, because. And I'm like, oh, that's such a good answer. Anyways, Crystal, we'll stick with you for just a second. I explained a little bit about the Bahamas Plastic Movement, but tell us a little bit more. How did it get started and what's today's mission and vision?
Yeah, we're an environmental nonprofit organization geared towards raising awareness and finding solutions to plastic pollution. And we do this in the most unconventional, creative, and fun ways. And it's mainly through youth engagement. You know, my partner's here, right? We get things done by empowering young people to join us in this continuous fight. So our vision is where we create a Bahamas where we have an engaged public, because they've been engaged in the education and activism around plastic pollution. We all collectively would try to create a Bahamas free of plastic debris, right? And that's our mission, is to bring everyone together. We're not pointing fingers, but we're trying to create partnerships. We've been operating now for 8 years. You know, we're the grassiest grassroots organization you can think of. There's no staff. I volunteer for myself. My friends volunteer for me. The students help with a lot of the work. Yeah, it's just a passion project. Still very much so.
I love that. And for all of you watching, I'll show ways to get involved with the Bahamas Plastic Movement and just to check out all of the really cool resources and things that they have on their website at the very end. So Michaela and Hannah, I gotta ask, what have you guys been doing this summer? I constantly, both on social media and your website, have been like trying to look out for what you're doing, but I gotta hear from you guys. What's been up this summer?
Okay, so we had camp this summer and we ended up doing it for a week, and we had a series shootout this week. No, it was actually 3 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it's like almost a month now.
And we did living on an island with zero waste living on an island. So
yeah,
that's amazing.
Add to that.
We learned different ways to like substitute things or items in our daily lives for other, like, for example, hair products. Instead of getting like shampoo or conditioner out of the store, we made our own and we just used that.
That's amazing. What is the biggest thing that you've taken away? Like what's something that you could share with the people watching that is an alternative that you hadn't even thought of, or maybe it's new to you?
we made what was it? We made a reusable pad, and we bought menstrual cups too.
Wow, that's amazing. Michaela, do you have one? Do you have is it similar to Hannah, or do you have another?
I think, Michaela, is there something that popped out to you from what we learned for zero waste stuff?
I think the thing that popped out to me the most was for instead of using hair extensions, you can use banana fiber.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and just some context, right, for our camp this year. So the plastic camp, it's a tuition-free program. We've been running it for 8 years as well, all across the Bahamas, mainly on the island of Eleuthera. And we get students to come and they not only learn about the problem, but they're empowered and they're given the tools that they need to find solutions. So for this year's program, our theme was zero waste living. And we challenged the barriers of living zero waste on an island, which is really hard. You know, you have to store it there, and that's great. But for us, 90% of everything we consume in this country is imported, and very often it's imported in plastic. And not only that, the things that we use, our personal care, our toothpaste, our body scrubs, deodorants, all these things have chemicals in them that are harmful to human health, and they're also packaged in plastic. So every day what we did at camp, we focused on a different topic. And every day was an episode, because we made an episode. Remember what it's called?
Oh,
Plastic Warriors Try.
Plastic Warriors Try, right? So we started a web series called Plastic Warriors Try, where every day we tried a different zero waste approach. So we did menstruation, like Hannah mentioned, where we made our own products, our own reusable pads. We got a donation from Amaze Cups, and they donated reusable menstrual cups to us. And we had real, honest, raw conversations about this stuff, right? And this is both with boys and girls, because everyone needs to be aware. And the fact of the matter is, it's gross. Like, you know, we don't want to confront our bodily fluids. So even though we call ourselves the Plastic Warriors, and this was the reason behind us challenging the zero waste living, like there are other parts of our lives where we use so much plastic. So we just wanted to see, could we do it? And we're open, you know, there's still some hesitation. Yeah, and what Michaela was mentioning with the hair is really cool, because we work with a local environmental engineer, Dolan Curtis, from Food Bahamas, and he went into the banana tree, and we got the fibers out, and we braided someone's hair with it. We made flaxseed hair gel to lay the edges. And
oh my gosh!
We made conditioner out of what? What was in it?
Aloe, hibiscus, and I think flax seeds.
Wow.
Yeah, so we just was like, what do we have in our backyards that we
Yeah.
can use? You know, and that was the main takeaway. It's all we can do is try. It's hard. We're having honest conversations. We're making the dialogue accessible to others, and we're showing solutions that you could do. Hannah led a really great tutorial on what was it that you made?
I made body scrubs, toothpaste, a deodorant, and
Face mask.
Yeah, face mask.
Speaking of which,
So, wait, where are these tutorials? Like, I have to have these.
so everything right now is in post production. We
Okay.
finished 3 weeks ago, like Hannah mentioned. So now we're just going through the footage, which reminds me, Michaela did. We did this bed night clay mask, and she's like, my face feels softer.
Oh my gosh. I can just tell. I can tell through this screen. Y'all's skin, I need it.
You see the glow? Okay,
The glow. The glow.
breathe some sweat. Sun all day.
That's amazing. Okay, well, we have to, when that becomes live, like, I just have to like watch all, like binge all of that because that sounds amazing. But B, I really want to touch on what you were talking about, Crystal. I am coming to you guys live from my plastic free shop. My dad, who taught me to be an environmentalist, he's an environmental science teacher, can't put on deodorant with his fingers. Like, there are still like so many barriers for people that just because it challenges the way that we've always done things, even though you're like, it's put it on with your fingers instead of like a bar or whatever. But it does. It's sometimes people, you know, when you hear alternatives, it can be quite scary. I mean, I remember the first time I heard about, say, a menstrual cup, right? I was like, no, not a chance. And now I saw them here because they're super, I mean, revolutionary and innovative. And I can't imagine going through all of that as campers, how like eye-opening that must have been to actually see some of this stuff. But not only that, to make it yourselves. What was, I have to ask, what was the most difficult to make and to find ingredients for?
I don't know.
The deodorant, because we.
Yeah. Deodorant's another ball game. That's like, yeah, definitely another ball game. That's
We
so
had fun.
cool.
We started the class, we found this meme, and it was like, Tina, your natural deodorant is tearing this family apart.
That's the other thing, deodorants, people are like, how will I smell with it? I'm like, it's deodorant. Like, come on. Like, yeah, it's a whole thing. So my next question is also for Michaela and Hannah. Why did you want to get involved with Bahamas Plastic Movement? Besides the fact that Crystal is wicked cool and like I just feel her love and energy through the Zoom screen, but why did the two of you want to get involved?
Honestly, before I joined Bahamas Plastic Movement, I didn't really know much about it or what it was about. And my cousin, she actually like introduced me to the club, and she actually told me about what it was, and then I just joined, and then I just stayed in fighting the ban plastic out of the Bahamas.
And me, it was a funny story. We was at a sleepover. I was supposed to go somewhere else that day. It was a Saturday, and I couldn't get the boat on. Didn't get to the boat on time, so I ended up going here with my friends, and I ended up falling in love with it.
I can feel it. I can feel that love. Isn't it funny how that's the one thing I always try and debunk about getting involved is that you can just fall into these things and you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to be like the biggest environmentalist or biggest whatever. It's you can join things like these and make a world of a difference. And I think you, Michaela and Hannah, are perfect examples of that. How you just you missed the boat, right? Like, and now you're on like a podcasty webinar, like talking about your love and talking about action. And that's how easy it is, you know, and please know that before we get any further, everyone watching here is going to, I'm already like getting goosebumps and inspired. So thank you for just sharing and being here. So I was telling Crystal before we started, I'm trying to think of the name. I watched the sort of like small or short docu, I keep calling it a movie because it feels so epic, that is on your guys' website. Please, I'm the worst, please remind me of the name.
Oh, Plastic Warriors.
Yeah, Plastic Warriors, yes. I watched Plastic Warriors, I feel like maybe last week, and something that struck me is how little I think people know about what's happening in the Bahamas specifically. I did a webinar a couple months ago about ecotourism, and the Bahamas obviously, I think the people only recognize it as a tourist destination. But I guess something that I want to ask you, Michaela and Hannah, is what do you wish people knew that didn't live in your community? What do you wish they knew about what's happening in regards to plastic pollution, or just what's happening, you know, in your community in regards to the environment?
Okay, so we made a eco brick branch one day. I mean, last summer actually, when it was COVID, and we got the Harbor Island All-Age School to donate bottles. They had a competition and a party for it. And today we was cleaning out all the bottles, and we had to throw all of them away that was left over. Oh, and today we was cleaning up the bottle, and it was a bunch of dirt that was still around it and all that.
And what was most shocking about, so what Hannah's mentioned, last summer we collected more than 2,000 bottles. We had a drive because we wanted to build this bench out of plastic bottles to raise awareness of the issue, because people don't know. But the reality is we couldn't use all of those bottles, so they were all left over the last year. And we had to go back deep under the trenches today. They had to fight off spiders, and maybe they saw a rat or a raccoon, depending on the size.
Wow.
But we had to go through these bottles, and there's so many bottles that was just collected from just small group of students, you know. And what was that like for you, Hannah? You mentioned something that you didn't think people knew about the bottles.
Yeah.
That it's around Harbor Island. People went like different places. Most people can't see it, but like kids could see that it was a bunch of garbage around Harbor Island, like plastic, paper, garbage bags, and all that.
Metal, everything. So I think the point Hannah is trying to draw is that is just a small amount, right? That was collected in this blip of time because people were prompted to get them. The incentive was that the students who brought the most bottles got a pizza and dance party. Right. And that was like their driving force. After school, they were out in the bushes cleaning up. So as a byproduct, they were cleaning up the island and not even realizing it because they were driven by this pizza. But all of those bottles that we collected, it doesn't highlight the fact of how much plastic we bring into the country, how much plastic we use daily here, and where that plastic ends up for locals, right? And there's this thing that, we need to keep the island clean for the tourists. I'm like, no, we live here, we live here also. And that's the message that we, through the organization, try to uphold with the students. Do you want to add anything? Like, what's something you wish people knew?
I'm sure there's a lot. I'm putting you totally on the spot.
It's something which people do, we talk about this stuff all the time. And that was the biggest thing for me, like, people didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah. And there's the narrative too, that locals are the ones that are polluting and bringing all the stuff here. What did we do yesterday? Where did we go?
We went to the beach and surveyed beaches to see later on, like in a year or so, maybe, to see like if the beach like needs cleaning up or maintained. And the
you got this. Go on. So we went to the beach yesterday. What did we see on the beach? And how did we get to these beaches? Let's highlight that. These beaches was like across the street.
No.
Where we had to go.
We had to catch a boat to Eleuthera, and then we had to drive like an hour, maybe 2 hours to get to the beaches, and then we had to drive through like roads or pathways and
The jungles, deep in the bush,
What?
to go to remote beaches, right? So we're going to remote beaches. No one's there but us. And what else? What else is on the beach when we get there? What was that?
The ghost.
That's an inside joke. But what did we go down and look at? What were we counting?
plastic,
The plastic, right? And you remember where that plastic came from?
the ocean.
It came from the ocean. So that's another thing that people don't know is that a lot of plastic washes up on our shores. They think, studies are saying by 2025, there'll be 670 million metric tons of plastic washing up on Bahamian and Caribbean shores. So what Michaela was alluding to, that we want to go back in a year. Right now I'm working on my PhD, and I'm looking at coordinated and harmonized things. Looking at harmonized monitoring strategies for marine debris, marine plastic debris on beaches throughout the entire Caribbean region. So we know all of this plastic is washing onto our shorelines. We know we have this multifaceted issue in our country with waste management, right? The things that we use here, locals use, the tourists use, ends up right in the landfill, openly burned. If we look over right now, you can see the plumes of smoke coming from the garbage, right? We have the plastic that's washing ashore, and then we also have plastic that comes from disaster debris. Climate change is intensifying. After Hurricane Dorian last year, we had over 1 billion pounds of debris, disaster debris left around, right? So how do we manage all of this? And it's like starting a conversation because people don't know.
Thank you. I know Hannah and Michaela, I totally put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot again and ask, what is the most surprising thing you all have learned, the both of you have learned from both being involved now with Bahamas Plastic Movement, but since you started thinking, I always have conversations with people who come into my store where they have this light bulb moment where now suddenly they see everything through different eyes in the sense of waste and plastic. What is something that you guys have learned since that light bulb has turned on? Or what's the most surprising thing that you've either learned from Crystal or the other mentors in the program? What's the biggest thing that you've learned that you're taking away?
I think the most surprising thing that I learned in camp was that there are multiple like different numbers of plastic, like 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. There are multiple like different types of plastic that I didn't know existed.
And that is challenging to actually do these things on this island because most things comes in plastic containers, plastic wraps, and different things like that.
Yeah, those are really good answers. No, I completely agree, Michaela. The numbers thing still throws me. And also when it comes to recycling, which recycling industry will take what numbers, and should you leave the cap on your bottles when you recycle it, because there's so many different rules. That still throws me for a loop. So I totally agree with that one. And yeah, I also agree with you, Hannah, that sometimes it can just feel really overwhelming. Like there's nothing you can do because this is just the way life is. Things get sent here and imported here and they come in plastic. And yeah, it can feel really quite overwhelming when you start to see those things, but also almost like a challenge, right? Like you now know what the scope of it is. So what are you going to do about it? So yeah, I completely agree with those. Those are really good answers. By the way, for all of you watching, if you didn't know this is one of the coolest things about the Bahamas Plastic Movement. You all helped pass legislation that will help ban single-use plastics in the Bahamas by 2020. First off, major congratulations. That's like crazy cool. And honestly, it gives me, when I called my dad before this because he loves who I have on here. And I was telling him that Yeah, hi dad, shout out to my dad. I was telling him this and he got choked up because he never thought in his lifetime he would actually see change like that, right? Things like that getting banned. So I want to ask, what did it feel like when you heard the news, and what are you working towards next, right? Like global domination, like plastic free world. What are you working towards next?
Okay, so right now we found a. Okay.
You have ideas.
Okay.
But just to answer your question,
Yeah.
So we work with students. I guess we didn't orient to where we are. We're on Harbor Island, which is off of northern Eleuthera. And on the island of Eleuthera down south, which is about 2 hours south from where we are, that was the core youth delegation who went and got the ban done. So these guys would have been introduced to the program 3 years after, right?
Wow.
But it was the rollout.
Yeah.
So that particular group of students, like they still talk about that to this very moment. A lot of them are applying for colleges and they've used that in their application letters. They always message and talk about the fact that it's Crystal. I went out today, I went to Wendy's and they gave me a paper straw, or I went to the store and I didn't get a bag. Like we did that. And I'm like, geez, y'all right? We did that, like we were a part of that. So for these guys now being on the tail end of the work, still ongoing in different directions, whether that's discussions about zero waste, there's still a lot of hope, there's still a lot of passion, and there's still a lot of growth, because even at the end of our program last week, Michaela talked about the fact that I'm happy, I'm excited because I pushed myself beyond my comfort zone. She had to host the episode. She had to get behind the camera. Hannah had to go out and interview people on the street, or write the script for the show. Like they had to challenge themselves, and that manifests in other parts of their lives now. So what's next for us? We got all kinds of ideas. We want to open up the girls, especially. You could tell them about that.
We want to open up our own plastic-free shop, actually.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
They keep coming back to. And so we're interested, like I mentioned, Bahamas Plastic Movement, we're a backpack organization that goes wherever I go. Since I started the organization, I haven't lived full-time in the Bahamas because I've always been a student. So now I'm on the last leg of my academic journey. I come home in the summers, and once we're done with this, we need a space. So between me and all of the students, we're always like, we need a spot and we need to have a dorm room, we need to have a classroom, we need to have a store, we need to have a farm. So how can we create our own on-the-ground thing that's inspiring, that's a zero-waste store? And every time I keep running from the idea, I'm like, man, I don't know. They're like, but Crystal, we should do this.
That is accountability. That is, I love that. Cut to our second conversation in a couple years where you're coming to me live from your plastic-free store, Michaela and Hannah. You're showing me all of the things you've made. Yes, that's going to be a part 2. No, I love that. I can't wait to see it. There's no like, oh, I hope that'll happen. I can't wait to see it because I know that's.
And we're going to say part 1.5 is on this tour to visit other zero waste shops. Stop what y'all say. We stop by her. Let's go Chicago.
Woo! Yeah, as I say, you gotta go. Then you can visit Chicago. Visit yes. And literally, yes, done. 1.5 live in person webinar. That's so funny. Crystal, this is a question for you. What is the most surprising thing you've learned since starting nearly 8 years ago?
Years ago, I've learned that this has nothing to do with me, right? When you run organizations and things are so close to you, you want to throw in the towel, it's overwhelming, but I've realized, especially within this last year, that it has nothing to do with me, that I was ordained to do this work and it's for them, right? And it always comes back to these people, these young people, that I'm not doing them any favors. I'm not a savior, but we're all partners. And when I isolate myself and I feel like it's too much and I want to quit, I always think about the voice of the children. One year I didn't want to do camp And I asked the kids, and I was like, how do you feel about not having camp this year? And they looked at each other, and then they looked at me, and they bursted out laughing. They said, Miss Crystal, are you crazy? What about the children? What about us? We need this. We look forward to this. So I realized that me making it, oh, I can't do this. I'm tired. What about who this work is really for? So that's been the best thing for me, and that's what keeps me going. Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah. It's when you're working towards something much bigger than yourselves, it can be really easy to just want to be like, I'm out, let somebody else take it. And then, yeah, I that's a really such a good answer. Back to Michaela and Hannah though. What? Yeah, Crystal's like, all right, sitting back. She's on a break now. For both of you, what are some simple ways that you either now have changed your lifestyle or just some ways you can take action against plastic that maybe, aren't so obvious to people besides like picking up, or maybe picking up as you walk down the street is your tip, right? What are your tips and tricks for people who want to make small actions towards becoming plastic warriors?
So I started to bring my own lunch to school and my utensils.
I now carry around my own reusable water bottle or a cup, and like if I'm like on the golf cart just riding like around, and if I see like plastic or something on the street like a box or like packaging plastic, I just tell my mommy like stop the golf cart, I gotta pick it up and throw it away.
Yeah. Do you talk to your family and friends about what you do and about plastic, and if you do, what are they like, yeah, I totally get it, or are they like, what are you talking about? How do people respond when you talk to them about plastic and the environment in our ocean?
I understand. You could explain your question more.
Yeah, no, of course. My first part of the question is, do you talk to family and friends about plastic pollution and what you can do on the island, but for our planet? And the second part of my question is, if you do talk to them, what are their responses?
So I talked to my parents about it, and they kept me in it because right now I wasn't gonna come. Like I wasn't planning to come to these 3 days, but we had to this week. But my dad pushed me, and now I'm here.
That's awesome. How about you, Michaela? Do you tell your friends and family? Are you like, hey, don't use that plastic water bottle?
I tell my family about it. Me, my cousin, and my sister, we are all like I think a part of it.
Yeah.
We have it to where we make our mothers and our aunts like take shopping bags to the store instead of like plastic bags, or we get boxes or reuse boxes, and I told my mommy about it, and she supports, and she also carries around like a water bottle.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and the parents like that's the buy-in there. Like these girls and all of our other students, they would go home and plant the seeds, and I've got wild messages from parents like, "What have you done with my child? She came home, she took all the plastic bags. She says we can't." Anymore. It's like, good, and the parents are on board, and I have to give Hannah and Michaela credit as well. Especially Hannah, because independently she saved up her money and she ordered her own reusable utensil kit.
Wow.
She's adamant, because they go to different schools. Michaela is here. We're at the Harbor Island Korean School, which is a big partner of ours. This is a zero waste campus and a single-use plastic-free campus as well. Hannah goes to the all-age school, which is the public school, and they use a lot of plastic there. And she's very aware of that, and she, talks to her friends about it, and she's very adamant about taking her reusable containers for lunch. So Hannah's the real deal.
Yay, Hannah! Both of you. I mean, that's the hardest part, right? It's I just had a couple girls come into my store today who were 12 and 13 and who were actually bullied by people in their classes for caring about our planet. And they were so sad that these classmates not only were bullying them, but just didn't get it. And so one of my best friends says the best form of activism is education, and telling people, simply by telling one person, you're doing so much work and so much change. And so yeah, no, keep telling people. I mean, all of the people watching here today, I mean, we're telling the world what y'all are doing, but how they can, take those steps forward. So before, this is our last question. I told you guys it would go so fast. And then you can go back to enjoying your lovely Thursdays. But before I ask you all my last question, at the very end, please stick around for all of you watching. I'll share ways both to get and learn more about the Bahamas Plastic Movement, how to get involved, watch Plastic Warrior, but also have a couple other cool opportunities to share for you all in our ocean community around different fellowships, the World Ocean Day Youth Advisory Council applications, and things like that. So stick around, don't go anywhere. But my last question, and this is for all three of you. I can imagine, especially living right on the ocean, how overwhelming it must feel to be working towards something that feels so large, like the plastic pollution crisis. Where do each of you find hope? Where do you find hope when you are just going, man, this is too big. This is too much. How are we ever going to do this? Where do you find hope at?
I think about the outcome I think about the outcome that will happen like later on in a few years. So that's what brings me. What kind of outcome? Like if you continue fighting, then eventually all plastic or most plastic will be banned in the Bahamas. And if you choose not to fight, then the plastic just keep adding up, and eventually it's harder to get away or get rid of.
Yeah.
So the positive outcome. The
Positive outcome.
That's hopeful.
I think about our children, our future children, and people that are going to be in the future, that we started this and they don't have to really fight for what we already made.
Yeah, yeah. Really quick before Crystal answers, Michaela and Hannah, what does the best 2050 look like? What does the most beautiful future world look like to you guys?
No plastic.
Yeah, no plastic. What about you, Michaela? What does the most beautiful year 2050 look like?
I think it'll be no plastic or Hannah, and also like just to go on the beach and not find like plastic, like seaweed or washed up against the shore.
Yeah, those are good answers. All right, last but certainly not least, Crystal, where do you find hope, and what does if we've done our job, if everything that we've all been fighting for works out, which it will, what does a beautiful 2050 look like to you?
I think for me, to start with the first question, I always tell people it's a fine line between depression and inspiration. I'm at a point in my career where I'm a little bit burned out talking about the disparity of plastic and how bad it is. You know, like I know, but you can attract more flies with honey. How that saying is go.
Yeah.
The good one is about, positive things, bring more people, attract more rather than being negative all the time. However, there needs to be our realistic optimism, and that's what we do in our program. We recognize that this is a problem. It's hard, we're not perfect, but we can be imperfect environmentalists. Whatever that looks like for us, whatever that looks like for the average person, you do the best that you can when you can, what you know. And what keeps me going is, again, working with young people. Yesterday we went to the beach. We surveyed those sites. It was hot. We had to drive up and down the island. You know what? it was so feeling because we
Yeah.
were all together and it didn't feel like work.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, felt like I was with my friends. We were cracking jokes. And all right, Miss Crystal, you need to make a note on this speech. There's more sarcasm deposits. This speech may be cleaned more regularly, so it may throw off our data. Like, you know, like they get it, they get it, they get it. And that's the thing, you know, that keeps me going. That, man, who am I to stop when I got work to do? For me, 2050. Boy, I don't like a baby. How much you ask me about that?
I think that's
What might be
30 years.
30 years.
I might be 60 something old.
Crystal's still gonna be wearing her hat in 2050. She's still gonna be.
I hope I live to see 2050. Do I think it's gonna be completely plastic free? No, I don't think it's realistic. However, I think in a perfect world, we've done everything right. We would have a society that is aware and more connected to nature. I would hope that convenience looks different. Convenience looks like preparation and taking the time to learn about what we're putting into our body and how that is subsequently impacting the planet. I see 2050, hopefully us being more connected to nature, that nature is still present, that we realize that it's our only lifeline. And I see plastic transforming into something that's more circular, into extraction, not being a thing, but utilizing the resources that already exist. So seeing waste as a resource and not as waste, you know, not only plastic waste, food waste, other waste items that we can recapture to live clean and green and pristine, as cheesy as that sounds. You know, it's been done before. We just have to get back. We have to slow down. So I think it's bright if we want it to be, but it could also be dull if we don't have to. So like Michaela, she said that thing today about the outcome, and I think that's so important. So thanks for sharing that with me.
I'm manifesting all of that. All of those visions. I'm thinking about the outcome. I'm manifesting it all. So thank you, Michaela, Hannah, and of course, Crystal, for sharing your wisdom, sharing your thoughts, sharing your love and energy, but sharing your work. What you all are doing is a shining example of how when you take care of your local community, you're also taking care of your global community. And, you know, I know we are all better for your efforts and your work and your passion. So thank you. Thanks for sharing this space with me. I can't wait. Webinar 1.5 to see you all in Illinois. And then webinar 2, I'm coming to the Bahamas to your store to shop and just see it all. I can't wait for that. But thank you all for watching today. Like I said, my name is Bailey. Be sure to check the links below to learn more about the Bahamas Plastic Movement and get involved with both their network, but also the Ocean Projects Network. And I really hope to see you next month, which is August, which is crazy. But anyways, see you guys next month.